Gonna highlight this. Welcome. This is a brief, well, hopefully brief, BA3 gambling manip tutorial or explanation for EXE3. If you're running in the English version, use version. Don't bother with this because they're completely different for Japanese English version. So this is for the Japanese versions of the games. It works for both for black and normal EXE. For reference, I'm going to have this Lua script running that will show me RNG values. The important one right here is the RNG index 2 that is going like crazy. So for this manip, you're gonna wanna jack in. You're gonna hold and run all the way to the right, because I'm gonna explain to you how to do the visual cue manip and not the audio. I'm pretty sure there's one audio one or one not, or maybe there's not yet. Who knows? But the visual one is the one I use, the one I created and I'm familiar with. So you want to run all the way to the right to this corner. You don't have to pause, but it's so for consistency's sake. Then run all the way to the left until you bump into this guy, this Navi, and then you're gonna save and you're gonna want to reset. This is to make sure that the position of the background and the stage is lined up all the time. Yeah, so like we're gonna be looking at the background around here, this part, because here's where the amount of sunny bed is gonna be. So we're gonna be looking at these circles based on relation to the stage, because these lines are really helpful to know when to do so. Also, the circles, the spinning, you could look at it, but it's not very consistent because they spin like every 4 frames or something. So when we're gonna be aiming for like 6 frame windows usually, look, it's not gonna be great. You can use it. In fact, use whatever you think would be nice. I'm probably gonna have some screenshots linked on the description that Tara will give me in a bit, right? For these things, and if not, you can just pause the video, slow it down, and mess around with it yourself. I highly encourage you after this, you go mess around with it a lot, with your own script and pause frame advancing. So hopefully you do this in emulator. For anyone looking to the console, ask Terraria 42. Anyway, we're gonna do a hard reset. We're gonna do a title screen of EQ so we're gonna just hard reset. We're gonna let the entire thing play out. We're not gonna skip anything, all the JP cutscenes and whatnot, and we're gonna wait. So like RNG2 is consistent. Thank you, Tara. And we're gonna wait for a specific LDQ. RNG2 should, when printed on the screen with this specific little script, should be around 335, but it's usually around 330 something low, like 230, 333 or so, to like 337. Try to not get too far away from that, because that's like that will determine the entire manip itself. Because if you messed up the title screen, everything else will be offset. So consider that. So yeah, do a hard reset. I'm gonna do the title screen on the queue a couple of times, so you more or less see how it is. But remember, the Lua script should print on your screen 330 something. Hard reset, let it play out. Don't skip anything. 334. It's that bit. $333. A bit early, I guess, but pretty good, pretty good. Usually what you're looking for. 336. Yeah, very good. So that's usually what you're gonna be looking for. Now, the once you do this, you're gonna talk to the guy and wait on these yes. We are gonna be looking at the circles in the background. So I'm gonna do it once, uh, frame advancing everything and tell you exactly what windows of RNG2 you're gonna be looking for. And then I'm probably gonna attempt it once or twice myself, or just simply go over. I'll decide. But I'm gonna hard reset, do the audio cue, and then I'm gonna be frame advancing and explaining exactly what I personally look for, and then I'll show you like I'll try to get to the middle of the very last frame in which I can press save, so you can see usually what it looks like. Yeah, so let's do that real quick. Okay, so remember there's two things you have to say yes at the beginning. The first thing we're gonna look at is this circle over here. This is the one I look at. And this step is gonna line up with this final line or so. That's usually what I look for. Okay, so frame window in which you should be pressing A, or well, here's the thing: when you press A, or when you look at the thing and you're about to press A, there's a couple of frames of delay. In my case, it's usually like around 5 frames or less, five, 3 or so. Uh, just consider that for reference. That any visual cue you may see while frame advancing, it's gonna be actually a bit before that because there's a bit of reaction time and actually pressing. So consider that it's not always gonna be okay. So when I frame advance, it has to be here. I'm gonna react to that. No, because then you'll be usually way too late. Well, not way too late, but you all usually end up being late. So for the first frame window, we want the A input to be registered around here. So the frame window in which we want the A input to be registered is 630 to 636. So starting with this frames, it's a 7 frame window, and again, it's this circle that matters. You usually are gonna react when the tip is around the black part, this line. Usually when you do that, you should be good to go. So you should have pressed it a bit early before that. By now, your A should be getting registered, so you should have reacted to the visual cue a bit before that. So it's going to be 331, 2, 33, 34. I'm gonna hold A and 335 because 336 should be the last frame in which it should be. Another thing I want to tell you, the positions are gonna be the following: bottom left, bottom left, top left. So that's gonna be your 4. So in this case, the Lua script will also tell me the position. So if for some reason 636 doesn't work because I was 1 frame too late, because I'm not exactly sure how it should, but you know. The gamble would tell me which one it is. So yeah, I was 1 frame too late there. So the next time I frame advance, I'll do it 1 frame earlier. My bad. Because at 336 I started registering my input, so it's a bit before that. But so I'm gonna pick this one. It should be bottom left, just so we are clear. Okay, so now that you've done that, the next frame window we're gonna look for is this circle that's coming. Okay, this one. So you're gonna follow it here, and it's gonna start getting down there. So usually when I press A, it's the moment it's like this final part is just touching the white thing, the white border, or it just completely disappears, right? When it just gets inside this corner, you almost can no longer see it, or you can barely see a fraction there. That's when I usually aim my A press for. So the frame window for this, so your A input should be registered around 1406 to 1410. So it's gonna be a 5 frame window. So it's the tightest we have, the 5 frame window. So yeah, you see like the circle is completely gone already. So when you can barely see it anymore, you're going to press A, you should get it. So let's go to 1408 this time, and I'll be holding A, frame advancing. Uh, and it should be top left. There we go. Okay, so next one, the third cue. This is going to be a 6 frame window. So for this cue, we're gonna be looking at this next circle that's showing up. Not the tiny one, but this big one. We're gonna be looking at how it lines up with this square. If I remember correctly, I usually end up looking around this part when, yeah, I run this time because I'm a bit early. In this case, I'm a bit early, but it kind of, this tip is going to like the block part line. You know, when this it's basically kind of like the first one. Like the tip is the border of the circle is almost to this line, but more along the black part. If you, yeah. So looking for like more or less this position to react to, maybe a bit later. But by when I mean a bit later, like 2 frames later, yes, I don't too early. But frame window for this case, RNG2 on screen. A input being registered, again, reminder that you should be looking for a bit earlier, should be 2101 to 2106. So that's a 6 frame window. 2101 to 2106. So let me start holding A from here. Again, you see like it's already kind of past this line, like touching it already and past the black part. So if you were to react right now, you'd be a bit too late. But since I'm frame advancing, I can just but it should be bottom left. And finally, for the fourth window, there are 2 keys you can use. It's completely up to you. They are the same amount of frames, the same frame window. It's both 6 frames, different visual cues, but the second one is a bit slower because you're waiting a bit more, but not by much. It's only by like 120 frames, which is essentially 2 seconds. But if you find it more consistent, as I did when I was running the game, before I come back, I'll eventually come back. I found it a bit more consistent for me, so feel free to use it if you want, because it's like the next best thing. Like, because the cue I'm about to show you is not the best, because there's not like a. Uh, Usually, I like to look at the tip of the circles, right? Like when it lights up with lines or it's disappearing. This one is a bit more complicated than that. So I actually paused a bit too early. So the first cue we're gonna be looking for is for this small circle. That'd be the fourth cue, point one, I'm gonna call it. So usually you should be reacting to or pressing A around this time or so. Well, like it's between the middle of the circle and like the tip, but it's not the tip. It's like around the middle-ish, but the first half-ish of the circle. This is why I'm saying like I'm gonna explain a second key. So this frame window is from 2811 to 2816. A input being registered again. So you should be reacting around this time, right? When it's like the first half-ish around. So it's not great, but if you can get it consistently, great. I usually try to react when it was around the half-ish, so I usually end up being a bit late, which is why it came out for me to like create this next window I'm about to explain a bit. So yeah, it should be around this part, and yeah, it should be when you reprint an A. Again, A input should be registered from 2811 to 2816. So if I were to pull A right now in frame advanced, I'd be getting top left. The next one is also top left. So let me just advance to the next queue. Just reminder that you can use this one. Yep. And we're gonna be looking at this circle next. Okay. So if I remember correctly, I usually look up when it's like around here. Not so. It's like the second queue, but early. Like we don't want the circle to disappear. It's gonna be like around that corner a bit lined up with like this white line that's being made here. The frame window for the input being registered is 2933 to 2938. So I'm a bit early, right? So around this part is when you should more or less be reacting because it's 5 frames early. As you can see, it's usually around this part where you should be kind of reacting and going to press A. It's like this final part. So again, see this white line? So if you think of it as a line that's being made here for this white part, that you can see the border there, or you can probably look at some other things, but I'm pretty sure you can find a good way to find it for yourself. Like if you think early second queue, it's probably a bit better. But again, so 2933 to 2938. Again, a 6 frame window for a input being registered, so a bit earlier than that. So if I go to here, the fourth, if I say 6, I start pressing AC. Like even by this point, the tip is still not gone. It's still, you can still see the circle. So yeah, the whole day, bum, top left. But we successfully cheated. And now we have 256,000 setting to buy a lot of HP memories, sneak runs, buy power swords, chip order aqua chips, all that good stuff, right? Now I have not done this on a run in a while, so I'm gonna attempt it once or twice. Probably gonna use the little script to cheat a little if I go early or late, but as a quick demonstration. That was a bit too early, my bad. Like, I went a bit early on title screen, and then I went a bit early on that frame, which is exactly why. Okay, this is awful. Let me do it again more properly. I cannot be cheating this much with the low screen. Okay. There we go. I should like to get closer to the screen, but that's me personally. There we go. There we go. To go for the second one, that'd be it. That should be it. There we go. So that's how you cheat at gambling. So that's an explanation, a frame data a bit explain out loud. I'll write it down in the description anyway with images for like more or less what you should be looking for. But if not, please feel free to go back into this video, check over and over, and I highly encourage you to use the Lua scripts for VVA. There probably will be some for Bishock by the time you try, and just practice a lot. Yeah, good luck, have fun on all your runs. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it on Team in Discord, on BN Shreds. Feel free to add me anytime and I'll be happy to explain.